My name is Lachlan Baines. I am delivering a barista skills class today for Pamela and Paul Easton. I'm going to do a pan of the room to show everything that we've got and the learners, Pamela and Paul, the coffee machine, grinder, and some equipment that we'll need, and more up in the cupboard above. The session today should go for 30 minutes. It is the 9th of the 7th, 2024, and we will get started. So firstly, welcome everyone to the Barista Skills. My pleasure. I've got here just some recording consent forms, if you could fill that out.
Okay.
And just kind of
explain that now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just get a glasses.
Pleasure. So this is consent form is just showing, acknowledging that this will be shared with the trainer of the TAE as evidence of my assessment. This is assessment number 2. Thank you. Now, I've got here some learning materials. It's more to look at after the fact or to refer to while I am speaking about everything through the lesson. I can only do one person on the machine at a time. So as I'm sitting and kind of demonstrating and doing the skills with one of you, I'll get the other one of you to read through that theory component there and look at the different diagrams of different coffee styles. Okay, thank you for that. Right, now, today we're doing barista skills. You both have a machine here. Paul, I believe you've used the machine before.
I have.
Some experience on it, and Pamela, you haven't.
No, I've
Okay,
never used it.
great. We're going to make a barista out of you by the end of the day.
That's great.
Okay, so there's a few different espresso styles. So espresso machines is an Italian way of making coffee, and a lot of common is the most common way of serving coffee in Australia. And there's a few main orders, and the most popular is the cappuccino. Have either of you had a cappuccino before?
I love cappuccino.
Great. So you know what they are. You've had them. Now we're going to make them. And now I'm going to explain how we get the nice, lovely foam and texture that is known with a cappuccino. There are other styles like lattes and espressos, and we've got glasses like this. Specific to the coffee is there's a correct glass. This is generally a latte glass, but we're going to use today just so you can see the different layers of the coffee and the style that we're actually aiming for. So cappuccino will be 30 mils of espresso at the bottom, textured milk, and then foam, and then a little bit of chocolate powder on top. Cool. The reason we're doing cappuccino is the most common. Once you've made that perfected cappuccinos, the rest are a little bit, they're easier to understand. I do need to I know that this is your house, but just to confirm everything for emergency evacuation, if needed, if something was to go wrong, we're going to meet out the front there at the letterbox. There is a first aid, just on the camera there, up in the top shelf there, where we have anything like that. But if there's a real emergency and someone hurts themselves, we'll call 000 and get the emergencies to take care. I've got a piece of PPE, so personal protective equipment, which is an apron. This should protect you from any hot water spill or coffee spills that happen while using the machine. So when you're using the machine, each person will get you one at a time to use the machine and wear that. And the other thing is to make sure you have enclosed shoes, which I've checked and can see that you both have, which is great. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to go through a few steps on the machine. I'm just going to change the angle of the camera so we can see what we're doing. With the machine, I've brought in some coffee beans that I actually use at work. And I've got some full cream milk. The reason I'm using full cream milk today is that the fat content in full cream milk is the easiest to foam.
Right.
So some people obviously like skim milk, some people like alternative milks, which is like nut-based, things like that. Very high water content in those, so it's harder to get that nice silky texture, which is what we want from espresso coffee. So we've got some beans, we've got some milk. I've also got chocolate powder, which I'll just grab.
There's some on top there.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, just in that little jar.
Okay. Up here we've got the chocolate powder there. We've got our grinder, which I'll fill with beans in a second. We've got our group handle, and in the group handle is a filter basket. So they do come apart. This is a filter for our espresso. Once it's grind down, it's then getting forced through, hot water is getting forced through the filter basket, out the group handle, and to pour, obviously, a shot. We've got our milk jug, which is for texturing our milk, and we've got our tamper, which is to press those beans down. Now, a couple of things to note when, I'm just going to move this little bit, right?
Yeah.
A couple of things to note when we are making coffee. The first element is grinding, making sure we've got the right coarseness or fineness on the machine. So we have a button on the side here which changes that. And if you can imagine when we are grinding, our coffee's coming out either coarse or fine. The finer it is, the more compact the coffee will become. Each time you press down and tamp that coffee, it's getting tighter and tighter. If you over-tamp that, the water can't get through at the rate we want it to get through. The rate we're looking for is 30 mils in about 30 seconds. On home machines, it's a little bit lighter, just because of the pressure behind it. Is not the same as a big commercial espresso machine. So we have to be a little bit flexible with that, but what is important that we produce a 30 mil extraction. If we are getting that extraction 30 mils, but it's very weak, and we don't have a nice golden crema on top, there's a couple of elements that we look at, which is, have we maybe got the course too loose? The beans too loose, so that means the water's running through the beans too quickly.
Right.
Or is it that we haven't timed our machine? Okay, so that we can time this to produce more water. Maybe it's set too short. But they're the two elements we need to look at when we're making the espresso shot, is the beans, the grind, and then the time. Once we're confident with that, then we can move on to our milk.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to show first, I'm going to just show you the setup. We don't like to put too many beans in at one time, because the beans actually go stale sitting in that.
Yeah.
So we keep them in a bag. Ideally, we will also have a container, an airtight container. I believe we have one up here.
Yeah, I think there is one the next.
Like this.
Yeah.
Anything like that that's airtight, we
Yeah.
put our beans in there, which keeps them fresh. Once the beans are open, you have about 30 days to use them.
Right.
You can keep using them, but that's the prime time or best quality you get. Okay. So on this one here, it actually has a gauge, and you can adjust that, which has already been set to where we want. But that has the coarseness, it has the grind, and how much we want in our actual grip handle, how much coffee we want ground in there, and then obviously the timing of the water is on the machine. It's turned on, you can see there, which should be warmed up. And this is automatic. So once it's on, you just have to press it and it starts grinding for you. And there you go. So you can see then it's quite a fine, you can have a little feel.
Yeah.
It's almost like flour, right? So it's got that really nice, fine, soft.
It smells nice.
It does. And this is exactly what we want on these machines. If they're too coarse, then the water runs through it, and it's just like having a kind of instant coffee at the end.
Right.
This is our tamper. When we're tamping, we try not to put these bits anywhere where there would be ground beans, because what will happen is those beans, those little bits of ground beans will end up in your cup and then end up in your mouth, and it's not a nice texture. So that's important to keep your space nice and clean. When we're pressing down, we're putting roughly 9 pounds of pressure, and that's the ideal pressure behind it. Each time you tap, imagine again, like I said, that your beans are sitting there nice and kind of loose together. We press them down, they get tight. Each time you tap the side of your grip handle, it's getting tighter again. Too much is over-tamped and will produce a really slow extraction, which is just a really bitter espresso shot. So we've put that in. We've made sure it's nice and even.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a nice even press. If there's any beans or browns on the top, we want to just give them a quick wipe because there's a rubber seal inside here. If there's beans there, there's a chance that it won't seal completely flush, and then the beans will have the same effect. They'll overflow and they'll end up in your cup, again, giving it not a nice texture or mouthfeel. When you lock it on, it does have a diagram here, but we're coming from the side, from the left, and pulling to the right. You'll get a feel for it.
Yeah.
I've got my cups behind us, but as soon as we put it in, I'm going to press a double shot straight away and under. Should take a couple of seconds before anything's produced because it's tight and it's warming everything up. And as it comes here, we've gone up into the optimum pressure, which means we've pressed the right way. Some machines have this, some don't. And what we're looking for is that nice golden crema. If we were working on a big espresso machine, a commercial machine, we would time this, we would time it all. We would weigh the beans before, we would weigh the beans after they've been grinded. But for home machines, the main outcome is this nice golden crema.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what we're looking for. Okay. So that there is our coffee shop. We've then got our steam. There's 2 functions on this machine. To the right gives just hot water coming out of the hot water spout. To the left is actually our steam wand and producing the steam. I'll show you what that looks like and how long it takes, because it should then give you a little bit of confidence when you've got the milk in to feel. There we go. First one always takes a little bit. That water there isn't giving us the steam. The texture. It's the steam. So that there, it's coming out. That's what we're putting into our milk. So we're going to grow in volume if we're doing the right thing. And it's also obviously heating our milk, so it's bringing it to the right temperature. We always flush or purge the steam one before and after to make sure there's no milk left in there from previous use. Even if we're using it ourselves, it's good habit that we always wipe or flush as well. So we've got our espresso shot.
Yeah.
We're going to pour some milk in our jug. And the method we're using here is all the way in, turning on. And then once it starts to produce that steam, which we saw there takes a little while, we're then going to lower our milk jug so the tip of our steam wand is at the top of our milk, which should sit about here.
Yeah.
It will produce some noises. Kissing noises is what we want. That nice, gentle kissing is the perfect milk. If it's squealing, then we've probably got our steam wand either at the very bottom or on the side of the metal, and it's quite an offensive.
Yeah.
It's not a good sound. If you hear a gurgling noise when we do it, then it's probably too high to the top, and it's not actually producing nice textured milk, but just putting bubbles in there. And with this milk, we want textured milk, not bubbly milk, to give a nice silky smooth texture to our coffee. We're going to fill it about halfway, steam wand fully in, and then we turn it on. Always using and touching the black is safe. Any silver part in the machine could be hot. So we always try and use those handles. As this starts, I'm going to move it so I can see it better, making sure that I can see the tip of that steam wand at the top of the milk. And you hear that quite offensive squeal because it's very low. Then I'm going to bring it to the top, and you can hear that that's a big gurgly. That's too high. Bring it. That gentle hissing noise is what we want. We're slowly sucking up those bubbles, as you can see down there, moving the milk around in the jug, trying to get a little bit of a whirlpool there. And the aim is to actually try and get those little bubbles up. Okay?
Yeah.
The ideal temperature is between 60 and 65 degrees. The best way when using these machines is to actually go by touch at first, because I want you to focus more on the texture of the milk than the temperature. So as it gets to a point where it's maybe too hot for you to hold, I want you to take your hand off, count to 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you turn it off. Okay? Waiting for complete noise to stop, like that, before we take it off, and then we will force that water out. And I'm just going to give that a little light. Get all that kind of old milk off.
Yeah.
If you need a little bit of hot water, just to wipe that down. Okay, so always want to leave it nice and fresh how we found it. And then it's out. Okay. So we've got the textured milk. We can see that it's grown in size from there to a little bit higher. You can see the bubbles, you can see the foam. We then tap those bubbles and roll it around. It's important that we're always bringing the milk back and rolling it before we pour, which is actually bringing the milk and the foam together. As it sits, the foam is lighter, which will go to the top, and the milk will sit at the bottom. And as we turn our jug, the foam will drift to the back and the milk will stay there.
Right.
Depending on the coffee, we want more foam or more milk. For a cappuccino, we want a fair bit of foam. So the skill to this here is tap and roll. When you're ready, very confidently pouring the milk out and stopping. The same thing to tap and roll those little bubbles out. Each time I approach, I'm tapping and rolling, and then I'm just going to, again, quite confidently fill my cup, lifting up and down just to make sure I'm getting enough foam. So technically, because of the glass, this would be a latte.
Right.
The difference for a latte and a cappuccino is the foam should protrude over the glass a little bit more, the cup, and our chocolate powder on top there obviously really stands out as cappuccino. Okay, so that's the demonstration. Now I'm going to work with you in making one.
Okay.
Do you have any questions before we start together?
Well, I'll just follow what he's
So
doing
here we
because
go.
I haven't done it before.
So I assume you're going first.
I-
You ready?
No,
Paul's
yeah,
had some experience.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of what I said he already knew.
Yeah.
What I'll get you to do is that one. I'll come around the back there.
It's a good apron.
This is a good little apron. Okay, now I'll get you to just roll your sleeves up a little bit, Pam.
Yeah.
And then if you could wash your hands as well, just before we start. Again, this is to mainly protect your clothes and just in case if there's any spills. Okay. Now, while Pamela does that, I'll show you there. That's what we call our coffee puck. If we've had a nice press, it should be quite firm. If there's a lot of water in there, then we can tell maybe we didn't get quite enough pressure, or maybe we didn't get quite enough beans in it. So that's important to look at that after the fact to see if there's things that we could have done better for our next shot. A lot of the time in the coffee shop, we will get in early. We'll make a few espresso shots to test the quality of everything before we start serving it to our guests. Okay. All right, Pam. So I'll put that one up there. This one just a press is on.
Yeah.
And then it's very gentle, so you don't need to hold it in there. Once it's in the position, you can see there's a little sensor button, which this will press that. And then once you've got it in, you can let go and it'll start grinding.
Okay. So I just press this.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then, yeah, press it there. There you go.
Stop it.
It'll stop itself. Okay, so you can bring that over now to our preparation area
Yeah.
and take your tamper. Yep.
Yep.
And what I might get you to do actually is, can you press down on my hand with that tamper how much pressure you want to use?
Okay.
So use that way
That way.
and press that down there, and I'll tell you if it needs to be harder or not. You can start pressing. You can start now.
Oh,
A lot of pressure. It's deceiving how much pressure you kind of need to put down.
really?
So a lot. Yeah.
Where?
Yeah. If we had the scales, I've seen them used before, which is very handy. 9 pounds is hard to kind of imagine, but putting that pressure on a scale, you can see how much more.
So can I put it on here to
You can
press
just
down?
being aware of it. Yeah, underneath.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So quite firm press. Yeah, there you go. That's nice. And then pull that out and give it a little tap, because I'm sure there should be some bits. Just tap it on the side there. That's beautiful. See how nothing kind of fell in? It's a good press, nice and even.
Yeah.
So you can pop that guy up there and then just wipe any little beans you can see around there just with your finger.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can lock that in
And that goes in.
a little bit more to the left or over there at about maybe 9 o'clock.
Okay, there.
In up there,
Yeah.
and then pull it across to me to 6 o'clock. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once that's on, the heating element's there, so we don't want to take too long.
Okay.
So if you can press the double for me, and then put the cup under.
Oh.
Yeah.
Press the
Press
double
the double.
now.
Correct?
And then put the cup under there.
Yes, please. So we have that time. We want you to feel the need to press the button straight away, not to get a cup under there.
Right.
Because if you don't have the cup ready to go, when we didn't really set up our area well. It's beautiful. See that nice golden colour that you produced there, which is exactly what we're looking for,
Right.
which is the crema. Which really, that's the main point of difference in an espresso coffee.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful shot, man. Okay, now put that to the side out of the way so we don't knock it over.
Okay.
Get you to fill up that milk jug with just about, just before halfway, please. Perfect. Yep. And I know you watched me do a little purge, but I will get you to do it as well.
So that's to the left?
Correct. It does have a little picture there as well, if you're not sure. We've got water or steam.
Okay.
And we want the steam function. So it's just making sure that any milk that was left in there is forced out. Again, this could be more important in a commercial setting when you have allergens. We'll be using almond milk when someone's allergic. You need to make sure it's clear.
Okay.
So that's good. You can turn that off now.
Right.
Okay. Now using the black handle, I want you to position that where you can see it, where you feel comfortable.
Okay, I might just put my glasses on. So pull this out like
Correct.
that. Yeah.
Yep. And then this is going to sit in there.
Yeah.
So it's important that wherever you're standing, you can see the bottom of your steam wand and the top of the milk.
Right.
Because that's what you're looking for.
Okay.
So wherever feels comfortable for you.
The bottom of my. Yeah, I can see that there.
Great. When you're ready then, you want to pop that to the same steam position. And remembering it does take a little bit. So that hand now we're going to come under here, so we feel the temperature. I want you to lower the milk jug.
Lower the milk jug?
Just there. Okay, that's where we want it. So the top in,
Yeah.
and there you go. We've started our home. Here that's a little bit too bubbly.
Yeah.
You can see it. You want to go just lower, right there, so that little hissing noise. and lowering the milk jar. You can feel me putting pressure there.
Yeah.
And then hold it just there. Just that. You want to suck the bubbles up.
Right.
And it's pushing air back through and creating nice textured milk.
Oh.
There you go. That's perfect. And then back in a little bit the temperature.
Yeah.
And lower the foam. So it's that balance of when you think it needs a little bit more temperature, you put it in.
Yeah.
If you've got the foam at the level you want, as we can see it's kind of grown or doubled in size there.
Yeah.
Happy with it?
Yeah.
Beautiful, that temperature's there.
Yeah.
So take your hand off and go 1, 2, 3. Now turn that off. And keeping that in, because if you pull that out too early, the pressure will stick.
Right.
But that's ready now. We take that off, push that back under, and then we want to flush it, and I'll just get you a fresh bit of.
So do I just put it back to steam?
Correct, yeah. Great. So you're just kind of flushing the milk out. Off, and I'll just wipe that for you. Now you've got beautiful milk there. You can see it's quite nice and textured in the sense it's not all bubbly.
Yeah.
It looks very silky and smooth like a cloud. So I'm going to tap and roll, and then you're going to bring that over here, and I want you to be quite confident with your pour. The slower you go.
Remind me of the tapping.
Yeah, so tap, and then kind of roll it around like that.
Okay.
So we're getting a kind of, you can see it all come together. Pop the bubbles and roll.
Okay.
Now, think you have a dot here, and I want that dot in the cup. So it's quite an aggressive, that's it, and stop. Perfect first pour. The reason we pour halfway or 3/4 is so we can assess how much foam we have in there.
Okay.
We need more foam, more aggressive. If we want more milk, less aggressive, because as you slowly pour, the foam comes to the back of the jug and it comes out.
Right.
As you aggressively pour, the foam comes out at the same time.
Right.
And I think you've got quite a fair amount of foam there, so we're going to actually do what I did, which is it's a bit of a halfway. So tap and roll every time. And I want you to pour just nice and even. Yeah, that's beautiful. All the way to the top. Keep going, stop. So that foam will hold, and we want the dome. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you can put a little bit of chocolate powder, as much as you want. Very good.
That was good.
Really good.
Thank you.
You happy with that?
Yes.
Would you drink it?
Yes.
That's it. That's all that matters.
Thank you. That's very good.
Go. You can drink that if you want, or you can give that
I
to
might drink that.
someone else. Great work. So,
Thank you.
that's okay. I want to recap then what we've done. So we've done the espresso shots, taking note of the beans, how fine they were, right?
Yeah.
The pressure was perfect that you put down.
Right.
The reason I know that is because it produced a nice golden crema.
Yeah.
Okay, if we didn't press it, then we would have to look at what went wrong. Was it the coarseness? Was it the time? Was it our pressure? Okay. But you did great there. And then you did really nice textured milk as well.
And can I just ask a question?
Absolutely.
So when you grind the coffee, are there different, like, to make it coarse or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
So where do you get that? Where do you get what?
Yeah, so over here on the side, you can see it's coarse or fine.
Right.
And you just twist that to either be more fine, so more like flour or sand.
Yeah.
And then more coarse, more like mulch.
And what did we do? Just in the middle?
Yeah, kind of. So each machine, you'll have to adjust your grind to.
Right.
Okay, so you don't do the grind to what you think the grinder might need. You do it to what you think the machine will need.
Right.
And the reason we test that through making them, timing them, weighing.
Right.
If it's too fast, then we've obviously made the too coarse and the water was too easily able to run through those beans.
Yeah.
And if it's too fine, then it's too hard for it to come through and nothing will be produced.
Okay.
So they're the two elements to the grinder. Okay. And then as you did there with the milk is getting the balance of textured milk and temperatured milk. Not bubbly or overly foamed milk. That's not what we're trying to achieve anymore. The trend is silky smooth milk, which you've done. And then we put a bit of cappuccino on top, which is great.
Right.
I mean, I think the only thing there, Pam, would just be obviously knowledge, confidence, moving forward. But you produced a great coffee, so happy with that.
Yeah, I'm proud of myself.
Me too. Very well done. Now we're almost at the end of our session, so Paul, I think we can do your coffee after.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about the paperwork, the session, any feedback?
I think that was really clear, real clear training.
Great. Thanks. I do have some work that I'll ask you to do.
I've never done it before.
It's a perfect coffee for a first timer.
Yeah.
Very proud of that. You should be. So we'll get you to fill out some feedback forms for me at the end of this. Hand them back and be honest. I'm still learning. So if you have areas that you think I could have explained better, if the timing could have been a bit smoother, obviously, Paul, we will have a practice, but in this session, that's all the time we had. So,
okay.
I prioritise you, Pam, as never using it.
That's
Paul,
good.
hopefully you're
I'm
able
glad.
to see some tips there, and
Yeah.
we'll see how you go next. But thank you both for joining.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So much coffees.